This video is explaining, simplifying, and adding real-world experience to help understand the buyer representation agreement. On the exams and even in the real world, there are only a couple things that your clients will really ask about on this agreement. What I like to teach is 95 to 99% of everything you need to know. But if you are like me and you want to go above and beyond, check this video out in the cards where I break down every pre-printed clause in the buyer representation agreement. That is an amazing video, but for this one, let's just focus on the big one first, the commission clause, and then we'll touch on the exclusive and irrevocable authority, mainly the property type and geographic location. And be sure to stay to the end of the video and we'll go over a really good MCQ question you may see on the exams. If you are in the Humber College Real Estate program, you might see questions come up on the BRA, the buyer representation agreement, throughout the entire program, but mainly on courses 2 and Sims 1, depending on which variation of the exam you get. As usual, if you are looking for more support to pass these exams first try or to crush a retake, look to the Exam Master mini courses in the description below from C1 all the way to Sims 2. More on that later in the video, but let's just dive right into it. Okay, so let's just jump straight to pre-printed clause number 2. And if we read here, during the currency of this agreement, the buyer enters into an agreement to purchase any property of the general description indicated above. And that's second thing we'll touch on right after this. The buyer agrees that the broker is entitled to be paid a commission of. Here's where you'll indicate the rate of your services of working with your buyer clients to find a property. So an industry standard here for my area would be 2 or 2.5%. For the sake of this video, I'll put 2% here. I'll quickly mention the below and then we'll come back to this one. So it says or here. That would be a flat fee or something like that. Very rare, and below that would be if we were helping tenant clients find a rental. If so, the industry standard here would be half month's rent. Okay, so like mentioned, this will not only be on the exams, but what your clients will ask most about if they do. What this means is that if the seller is offering commission lower than 2% in this case, we will turn to the buyers for compensation. This is where you'll turn to them and tell them that 99% of the time, the seller will be compensating us. They will be offering a commission of 2% or higher, meaning that they will pay absolutely nothing as the buyer for us to find them their desired property. And if that rare circumstance were to come up, we of course would notify them and we would take this into consideration if we had to make an offer. Nothing would ever happen. They would never be charged, for instance, without us explaining in detail the situation to them. From there, you can actually explain to them 2 very rare situations where this could actually happen. One would be a for sale by owner. Not all for sale by owners by any means, but some of them don't want to pay anyone anything. What would happen here is if we somehow stumble upon a for sale by owner home that our client really loves and we haven't had the ability to negotiate with a for sale by owner to pay us any commission, because of course I will be, we are bringing them a buyer. At that point, we will turn to our buyer for compensation for the brokerage. And again, this would be taken into consideration of their budget and the offer. So that is one. And the other rare circumstance would be that if the listing brokerage is only offering cooperating agents, let's say 1%. In this case, again, we will be in amazing communication with our buyer clients, but the brokerage would look to the buyer for the difference of 1%. And same as before, it will be taken into consideration come offer time and your client's budget. Okay, so that is the first part of the commission clause. The second part that we need to understand to be able to explain is the holdover period. The standard in the industry for the holdover period is 90 days. So I'll break this down into a possible scenario. First thing that happens in our scenario, let's say 3 months to find a property indicated on the buyer representation agreement. We find them one particular property. Second thing that happens, our buyer representation agreement expires, or for some reason we are no longer working with them and we sign off on a mutual release. Third thing that happens after it expires or canceled, our buyer goes back to one of the properties that we showed them and purchases it. So that is the situation. Let's say that happened. If at this point the commission being paid for the purchase is less than indicated on our buyer representation agreement, we would be entitled to the difference. The holdover period of 90 days protects us for the work we have done, and it also protects us against possible shady or backdoor actions being taken against us to cut us out of commission. These are very rare circumstances, of course, and may never come up in your real estate career, but we need to know them. We need to understand the holdover period to be able to explain it to our buyer clients and possible questions that come up on the Humber College Real Estate exam. Okay, next let's talk on the exclusive and irrevocable authority section. So below here is where you will indicate the length of the agreement. Industry standard again is 3 months. If you have a contract that goes longer than 6 months, your buyers would need to initial here as well. Below that is the property type and geographic locations. For this, let's learn this through a really good practice MCQ question that you may see on the exam. Then we'll come back and fill this out. Okay, here is a question. Let's read it and then break it down. 1. Nancy is meeting with potential buyer clients at a local coffee shop, and it's looking like her buyers are going to sign a buyer representation agreement and start looking for homes. During the meeting, Nancy asks if the buyers have signed a buyer representation agreement with any other salesperson. The buyers say yes. Can Nancy proceed with this agreement? Perfect. Off to A. Once a client has entered into a buyer representation agreement, you cannot work with them until the agreement expires. B. The buyer representation agreement is only valid until the buyer finds new representation. C. The main factor regarding proceeding would be the expiry date of the previous agreement. And D, Nancy will confirm what area the buyers are searching in, as a buyer can enter into 2 buyer representation agreements at the same time. Okay, so let's go through these possible answers. For A, this is incorrect. A client can enter into 2 or more possible buyer representation agreements. For B, it's only valid until the buyer finds new representation. I really hope not on that one. For C, the main factor would be the expiry date of the previous agreement. This is incorrect as well. There are more factors like type of property and area to take into consideration. And for D, Nancy will confirm what area the buyers are searching in, as a buyer can enter into 2 buyer representation agreements at the same time. This is the correct answer. For instance, Nancy could be searching for a cottage in the Muskoka area and also be searching for a condo, let's say downtown Toronto, and have signed 2 BRAs. So if we go back to the agreement, this area here could be very specific, like a condo, or it could be something like any residential property. Below that, you would put the areas you're searching in for your client, for instance, Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. This is really good stuff to know for both the real world and the Humber College real estate exams. I really hope this helped, guys. And like mentioned, if you're looking for that additional support, look to my Exam Master mini courses in the description below. It's mini notes, mini quizzes, my exact fundamentals I use to pass all exams first try and in 4.5 months. And I also do video breakdowns of the 4 types of questions you may see on the exams. Those links in the description below as well are also value links for the YouTube family for the time being. Again, I really hope this helped, guys. If you have any questions at all, you can DM, email, comment on this video. I get back to everyone. I'm Callum Moore, eXp Realty Real Estate Broker here in Ontario, and we'll see you in the next one.